Yesterday, I got in a heated argument with ChatGPT. My wife actually came in and she's like, who are you talking to? I was really frustrated because I wanted to see if ChatGPT had at least basic truthful information in the area of health. How do they know this information is more truthful than something else? It's basically weighted through medical consensus. There's so much medical dogma that ends up being completely false over periods of years. Today, we're going to take a deep dive and ask ChatGPT various questions and see what it says. Before I do that, I want you to comment down below and tell me, how do you find your health information? Where do you go to get answers on health? The first question that I asked ChatGPT is, how do I lose weight? And of course, it said this: losing weight comes down to creating a sustainable calorie deficit, burning more calories than you consume. Of course, this dogma has persisted, and it's going on right now. This is what the medical profession tells you to do to lose weight. They give you a tip. A good starting point is to reduce your intake by 300 to 500 calories per day. And let's just say you did reduce 500 calories. You're just going to be so hungry because you're not going to actually tap into your fat supply. You're going to be dependent on the calories from the food coming in because you're running on carbs. Then I asked ChatGPT, what is the best diet for health? Number one, the Mediterranean diet. Of course, it's lots of vegetables, fruits, legumes, and whole grains, moderate fish and poultry. Of course, you have to limit the red meat, sugar, and processed foods. I like how they put that together. Limit red meat, sugar, and processed foods, like they lump those three together because they're all of equal importance to avoid. Look at this, optional, moderate red wine. For women, that's 1 glass per day. For men, it's 2 glasses of alcohol per day. First of all, if you're recommending a diet good for health and you're actually recommending alcohol, explain to me how that's going to make anyone healthy. The second diet is, of course, plant-based. Here we got the same old recommendations. Okay, flexitarian diet. This is mostly plants with a moderate amount of protein. Same thing, lean proteins. And then we have the DASH diet for blood pressure, more grains, lots of vegetables, fish and lean meat, same old, but now we're going to lower your sodium as well, right? Sodium has been found not to cause high blood pressure unless someone's super sensitive and low in potassium. There's just as many, if not more, problems with low sodium, especially if you're going low carb, because when you lower your sodium, you're going to have weakness in the muscle and the nervous system. People actually need at least 1.5 teaspoons per day of sea salt just to get enough sodium. Diets to avoid long-term. Here we go. Keto and carnivore can show fast results but hard to sustain, often lacks fiber, and can affect long-term heart health. There is absolutely zero evidence of that data. Again, where ChatGPT gets their data is from organizations like the American Heart Association, the American Diabetes Association. All of these organizations are heavily funded by certain individuals, certain industries that are going to make them very biased. I mean, think about keto and carnivore, what kind of threat that is to all sorts of money, medications, junk foods. Basically, they call the keto and carnivore fad diet. Quick results, but often result in rebound weight gain and nutrient deficiencies. Wait a second. The healthy version of the ketogenic diet and carnivore are so nutrient dense. Let's just compare that with the dietary food guidelines, which, by the way, do not even measure up to give us our basic nutrients unless you include the 3 cups of refined grains from the fortification of the synthetic vitamins put in there just to make it have some nutrients. So again, ChatGPT is just lying through its teeth. General principles for a healthy diet, well, you have the mostly plants, whole grains, adequate water, enough protein, can be plant or animal. You see what they just did? They just kind of made those two equal each other, which is absolutely not true. If you're trying to get protein from plant, good luck. You're going to be deficient. Next question, is keto healthy to do? Ketogenic diet can be healthy for some people short term, but it's not ideal for everyone or for long-term health in most cases. But then here we go to the risks and the drawbacks. Nutrient deficiencies. Fiber. I do a version of the ketogenic diet where I actually eat salad. I'm getting fiber. And with greens, you can get vitamin C. You can get a lot of magnesium, potassium. Difficult to sustain. Many regain weight after stopping. Really? Actually, I know a lot of people who have maintained their weight for a very long period of time, and it's very sustainable. May negatively affect athletic performance. No, it actually will help increase athletic performance. Possible impact on gut health. Yeah, positive impact on gut health. Might be beneficial for type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. That's a lot of people, right? And so many people have blood sugar problems. Why wouldn't this be a powerful tool? What is the best way to lower my cholesterol? More fiber, their version of healthy fats, but replace saturated fats with unsaturated fats. In other words, we're going to recommend the heart healthy seed oils instead of the saturated fats. Again, this is just completely outdated dogma that is, yes, it's general consensus, but it's completely outdated and false. Limit red meat and full fat dairy. That would be a mistake. Replace some animal proteins with plant-based proteins. Plants don't have complete proteins. The protein you get from plants is far inferior than the protein you get from animal products. Reduce dietary cholesterol. Limit foods such as egg yolks, shellfish, organ meats. Just ignore that because cholesterol is needed to make bile. It's needed to make vitamin D. It's needed to make all your cell membranes. It's needed for your brain. It's needed for your hormones. Medications if necessary. Okay, this is what the experts say. Statins. All right. Next question. Are seed oils really that bad? When seed oils aren't that bad, when used in moderation. When seed oils might be bad, highly refined. Well, that's the majority of seed oils out there. Oh, I like this. The verdict. Should I avoid seed oils? No need to demonize them completely. The key is balance and moderation. This is a play in their playbook. Everything in moderation. So that way you can keep eating the junk food. There is no bad food. It's just about balance and moderation. Well, when you have a chronic disease, you cannot just solve it by balancing your diet. You have to do something out of balance. And I think this is how they normalize carbohydrates. They started to use arguments that we need carbs for our brain, to the point where it's like 65% of our calories are grains. What is the best recommendation, diet, and nutrition for someone with type 2 diabetes? Why do they add whole grains and legumes? Think about what causes insulin to spike. It's carbs. So what is diabetes? It's a disease where there's too much blood sugar. Why would you want to add more carbs to increase that sugar if type 2 diabetes is too much sugar already? Wow, look at this. 1/4 of your plate should be whole grains and starchy vegetables. Really? Sweet potatoes? Why do you even recommend that for diabetes? This is ridiculous. Avoid large portions of carbs. Be mindful. No, don't consume any carbs or keep your carbs really, really low. Also, they say focus on complex carbs. Did you know that maltodextrin, modified food starch, and modified cornstarch is classified chemically as a complex carbohydrate? Yeah, I know. It's bizarre. Limit sugary foods and drinks. Wow. If you do consume fruit juice, make sure it's 100% fruit juice. Oh my gosh, this is so outdated. Oh, this is good. Meal timing. Spacing meals evenly through the day can prevent blood sugar spikes. Consider smaller, more frequent meals. No, we don't want a lot of spikes. The more you eat anything, the more you spike insulin. So this is going to contribute to diabetes, not inhibit it. With type 2 diabetes, you do not need to balance your carbohydrates. That's bad advice. You need to bring your carbs way down to as close to zero as possible. Of course, I asked the question, what about red meat? Is it healthy or unhealthy? So it brings up the risks of red meat, especially processed meat. It's interesting how they always combine red meat with processed meat. You know how many people that go on carnivore that improve their blood pressure, their heart function? How many people come off medications that are related to the heart when they do all animal products? It's a lot. Some studies have shown that higher consumption of red meat and processed meat might be associated with higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Well, I would love to see those studies. Well, I've actually already looked at them, and they're observational studies, which, by the way, are only meant to develop theories. They're not meant to prove something as it being causative. So what does the research say? Moderation is the key. We have that word again coming up. For example, serving red meat a few times a week, around 3 to 4 ounces per serving. Really? No, I consume red meat almost every single day. How much red meat is healthy? Well, the American Heart Association, which, by the way, is a private corporation funded by big food. I'm talking about the junk food industry as well as big pharma. You really think that the American Heart Association can be independent and stay independent? No, they can't. American Heart Association recommends limiting red meat in no more than 1 to 2 servings per week, with each serving being around 3 to 4 ounces. This is actually valuable information to find out what they're recommend you don't do so you can start doing it. I think that would be the only use. The link between red meat and cancer has been a subject of extensive research, and while red meat does not directly cause cancer, there's evidence that excessive consumption of certain types of red meat, processed meat, may increase the risk of cancer. It's just interesting to me how they have to throw those both into the same category when the truth is there is no credible research on red meat. So then I asked ChatGPT, from a diet and nutrition consideration, what would you recommend for the following conditions? So I'm talking about like autoimmune diseases, fibroids, cancer, glaucoma, ulcers, heartburn, brain fog, peripheral neuropathy, which is a lack of sensation or pain in the bottom of your feet, heart disease, and clogged arteries, just to see what they would recommend, because that would tell me a lot about where the recommendations came from. Let's start with autoimmune diseases, and they're recommending, omega-3 fatty acids, fruits, vegetables, curcumin, avoid processed food, gluten, nightshade vegetables. That's fine, but none of that is going to put your autoimmune disease in remission. To put any autoimmune condition into remission, you have to do two things. You have to really raise your vitamin D levels to a therapeutic dose, because vitamin D helps prevent the immune system from making a mistake and attacking its own tissues instead of a microbe or a pathogen. You need a lot of vitamin D, and it's called the Coimbra protocol. Instead, they have other things that are okay, but they're not significant in putting your autoimmune disease back in remission. Cancer, they're going to recommend plant-based, vegetables, cruciferous, healthy fats, etc., depending on how severe your cancer is. Yes, you need to clean up the junk food and eat healthier, but fasting, that's not even in here, right? Prolonged fasting is the most powerful thing you can do for cancer, especially stage 4. Let's get to ulcers. Non-acidic foods: bananas, apples, cooked vegetables, oatmeal, probiotics, slippery elm bark. Avoid spicy foods. Again, it's not going to work. You need zinc carnosine. The advantage that I've been fortunate to get is experience working one-on-one with a lot of people over many, many years that have been validated by many, many people. How much ultra-processed foods, aka junk foods, can we eat to still live a healthy life? While eating ultra-processed foods occasionally won't necessarily derail your health, the key is, can you guess what they're going to say? Moderation. Limit the ultra-processed food calories to less than 20 to 25% of your total calories. If you're doing 2,000 calories per day, they're telling us to consume 500 calories of all ultra-processed foods every single day. Well, we have Pop-Tarts. Let's see, that's 370 calories. So I can actually take 2 of these and probably another one of these. So 3 Pop-Tarts every single day and still maintain my healthy lifestyle. Now that you have that information, I think it's really important to have the truth about what to eat to create a healthy body. And for that information, you should watch this video right here. Yeah, click this one right now.